What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and recently the new Ninja Turtles movie has been released in theaters. It looks like a fun time, and it's targeted at kids, with the Turtles finally actually being squeaky teenagers, which personally, I like that direction. However, as with all things in modern media, there always has to be something that challenges the status quo or embraces things that audiences are tired of. In this movie's case, there's been a massive uproar surrounding the depiction of April O'Neil and the apparent sexuality of Master Splinter. And near the end, I'll talk about the whole Castlevania drama, so let's talk about it. April was originally designed to be a typical 80s bombshell, like a mixture of Lois Lane meets Ellen Ripley from her hair and even her clothes. She was also designed to be a sexy female character, as the sexier a character looked in the 80s, the more likely a product would be bought. Basically, as the old saying goes, sex sells, and even to this day, that still rings true. However, the April of Mutant Mayhem is a schlubby, overweight, pear-shaped woman who looks absolutely nothing like what her original designs embraced. And I'm not even against April being black either, I just take issue with the fact she looks like a high school defensive lineman in size when she should be fit. This very obvious changing of westernized female characters is sadly nothing new, since companies across the board are hell-bent on making their female characters as non-sexualized as possible. Look at The Last of Us, for example, where Ellie was designed on purpose to be a non-sexual female character. And there's plenty of examples, even recently, with characters like Tanya in Mortal Kombat 1 looking weirdly off, as if the developers took Tanya's face model and made her uglier on purpose. But in Mortal Kombat's case, they've been desexualizing their female characters for years now. Even though, whenever these characters are cosplayed, the classic versions are almost always the design that people go with. It's a tiring cycle we're in, as I know you're aware. It's annoying to look at TMNT and see April look so unappealing. Then of course there's the designer of April in Mayhem who shared designs via Twitter. And even these designs just prove that from a conceptual stage, April was always going to be designed as a pear-shaped, wide-back, ugly woman. At least the design here in the middle is a small attempt by the designers to make April somewhat less of a fat woman. But in the end, she was always going to be unattractive because that's what Western woke ideology wants. Just look at a lot of these social justice warrior types with their colored hair, multiple piercings, and God knows what else. There's this unanimous acceptance amongst this demographic to openly reject the societal norms of what's considered attractive. As if making yourself ugly on purpose is somehow sticking it to society, but the irony is that by rejecting the status quo of beauty standards, a lot of these people end up creating a new status quo that being ugly, overweight, and a mess is now normal. So in a way, they've pivoted so far into rejecting things they inadvertently replaced it with their own, meaning they're right where they were in the first place. And then they'll complain that nobody wants to date or hire them when they look like Batman and Robin henchmen. I mean, they did this to themselves. April being ugly is the new status quo, as is the rejection of female characters in general wanting anything to do with love. Just look at the Snow White remake and how they ruined that IP already. I wouldn't be surprised if this wide-back April also ends up in a future movie being a lesbian, because the more pandering these studios do, the more their ESG score will increase. And speaking of ESG scores, let's also talk about Master Splinter, who's apparently gay now. And why this is hilarious if you know anything about his voice actor's history. So this all started because a YouTube channel named Price of Reason saw an early screening of Mutant Mayhem, and they claimed in their version that they saw that Splinter makes out with Scumbug, another mutant character. Price of Reason and another YouTube channel named Midnight's Edge spoke about how Splinter being portrayed as gay makes zero sense for his character, since in the 40 or so years of TMNT lore, there was never any indication that he was anything close to being gay. But once the movie released proper, this supposed Splinter Scumbug romance scene was nowhere to be found, leading people to believe that Price of Reason was lying for clicks. Reason defends their position, saying that they saw an earlier version and believes the version in theaters omitted the scenes that were in the earlier version that they saw. They also point out that Paramount Pictures originally posted in a now deleted tweet where Scumbug gets a poster which refers to the character as male. Then there's the director of Mutant Mayhem who heard about this and they spoke about it, so they said, and I quote, "That was a marketing mistake and we were furious about it. They put that out, I don't know who did that or how that happened, but we were immediately like, that's not true, don't put that in the world, and that will now be on the internet forever. But that was never the intention, that was never the character. We always imagined her to be a female cockroach, and that one poster was a slip-up," end quote. Many are theorizing that Paramount released a version of the film to reviewers that pandered to concepts like gay relationships by having Splinter swap spit with a mutant cockroach. But quickly leading to the film's release with the deleting of the Scumbug poster and the removal of the supposed deleted scenes, Paramount may have gotten cold feet and didn't want the film to get dogpiled on for making Master Splinter gay. This could have also been done because if Splinter was depicted as gay, certain countries would likely ban the film. And obviously Paramount would lose out on money. There's even a screenshot of the movie seen here which openly shows Splinter and Scumbug beside each other smiling. And Splinter's arm is seen to be behind Scumbug almost as if he's holding him or her, I guess. I think the most likely scenario here is simply that Paramount wanted to play both sides in order to win virtue signaling points, and still have the film be okay for release in countries that ban gay relationships. Basically, this whole Splinter thing was designed from the get-go to pander and probably boost Paramount's ESG score. But it's equally hilarious to me since Splinter is voiced by Jackie Chan. And if you know anything about Jackie Chan's family, you would know that his daughter is a lesbian. And Jackie Chan openly resents gay people and has all but separated ties with his daughter due to her sexual identity. So for Jackie Chan of all people being the one that voices Splinter, who is now apparently gay, is nothing short of bizarre to me. I honestly wonder if Jackie even speaks in those scenes where Splinter is kissing Scumbug. Unfortunately, as of now, we can't see those scenes. But if I had to guess, Paramount probably added the scene without Jackie Chan's voiceover. Cause the dude would probably kick everybody's ass in the studio if they told him that his character was gay. Price of Reason backs up his claims that Paramount and producer Seth Rogan deliberately character assassinated Splinter and even the Turtles themselves. He goes on to say, and I quote, "In all the adaptations that we've seen to date, the Turtles usually take their fighting seriously, even if they are at times a bit humorous and playful. They usually seem rather confident and competent, while each of them have certain strengths, flaws, and unique skills. They also show real respect towards Splinter, who is their caretaker but also their mentor. In this movie, they are pretty much the exact opposite of everything I just said. They always seem like these insecure, weak losers and never really exude confidence and never convince you that they've taken charge of a situation. The Turtles also don't seem to do a lot of fighting in this movie, and when they do, it all looks rather lackluster. And for some reason, the Turtles constantly treat Splinter with extreme disrespect like he's some kind of nuisance. And to make matters worse, they always act and talk like a cross between Seth Rogan, 5-year-old children, and weirdos on TikTok. I suppose that Rogan thought this was a good idea because it would appeal to modern audiences. But by making the Turtles this way, he's really stripped away their identities or agency," end quote. This making the Turtles losers and idiots is kind of Seth Rogan's way when he produces things. You only need to look at the character posters for each of the Turtles to confirm this. Leonardo's character sheet claims he wants to be a fearless leader, yet nobody takes him seriously, which is the exact opposite of Leo in any other depiction. His authority is questioned, sure, but he's always been the leader. Raphael's character sheet is probably the most faithful since it just basically says he wants to beat people up, and his dream is to become a martial arts fighter, which, yeah, sounds about right to me. Michelangelo's is pretty faithful too, it just depicts him as a goofball that likes to make his brothers laugh. And his dream is to become a stand-up comedian, which again, yeah, this fits, I would say. Then there's Donatello's, which raised eyebrows, where it says his dream is to become a game developer and a K-pop star by night. This is just Seth Rogan and his team trying to appeal to the TikTok crowd since K-pop is popular. But that doesn't fit Donnie at all. The dude is like the turtle version of Nikola Tesla. He wouldn't care about being famous. The part that makes me roll my eyes the most is, and always will be, Seth Rogan. The dude has an impressive resume, but he always manages to belittle his own stuff by saying really moronic things. Seth Rogan, while being interviewed about Mutant Mayhem, said, and I quote, "I mean personally, I think I am just actively trying to make less things starring white people. And if I'm succeeding or I'm not, I'm very much looking to have a far more diverse group of writers and directors and actors that we generally work with, because that group is not incredibly diverse, you know. So that's how I've been trying to deal with it, is just to actively take, as they would say, anti-racist measures to assure that some work is being done to acknowledge that black people are very marginalized in American society," end quote. Rogan's comments here are nothing more than virtue signaling, and honestly, he gives me major white savior complex vibes. He's one of those white people who thinks it's his moral duty to use his alleged white privilege in order to save others. But the thing is that this mentality is inherently racist itself, because Rogan is not only saying black people are marginalized, but that they can't succeed on their own without someone like him helping them. So really his comments just come off as saying that he believes black people, or really anyone who isn't white like him, are not able to succeed because they are beneath him because he's white. So him hiring or intentionally giving people of color more voices on purpose kind of shows how he doesn't see them as his equals. Because if he did, he wouldn't feel this moral need to use his platform to uplift certain kinds of people. But he goes out of his way on purpose because of his supposed white guilt, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Nobody is beneath anyone else regardless of skin color. But it is up to people regardless of their identity to achieve greatness and aspire to become something more. This whole victim complex nonsense is stupid, and this is very likely why April O'Neil is black as well. She wasn't made black because it was a stylized choice. She was made black because Seth Rogan believes black people need his help. And that, my friends, is racist no matter how he spins it. But this backpedaling, virtue signaling nonsense is always happening, it seems, with even Netflix, yet again, getting in hot water. Because they have a new series called Castlevania Nocturne, which is a sequel to the excellent series that they did a few years back. I personally thought that show was great, and it did the source material justice. But now fans are pissed because in Nocturne, the character Annette is now a race-swapped black woman. Originally in the games, Annette was nothing more than a damsel in distress that was romantically involved with Richter Belmont, who's the hero of this series. Now, according to Netflix, Annette will be a sorceress from the Caribbean, who's a former slave of vampire owners that escapes and helps Richter fight back against the apocalypse. Honestly, to be real with you, I'm okay with this change myself, since the original character of Annette was a nothing character. She was just a pointless love interest, sort of like Kyrie for Nero in the Devil May Cry series. You know, the typical pretty girl that's just there to be saved, and I understand the creators of Castlevania wanting to give Nocturne a Sypha-like co-hero as well. But of course, they could have just chose from a plethora of characters that already exist that could have fit this as well. Personally, I want to see a Castlevania series starting Shanoa from Order of Ecclesia. I never know if I'm saying that game's title right. Ecclesia, whatever. That game rocked, and Shanoa is cool as hell. But unfortunately, this could have just been a race swap and that's it. But the creators of Castlevania Nocturne decided to attack the audience. Which, I'll sound like a broken clock repeating myself, but you never ever attack your fans. The supervising background designer for Netflix's Castlevania Nocturne is Steve Stark, who said, "I've literally seen like a handful of people angry about it, go complain about something that matters." And like always, if you go to Steve's Twitter profile, his tweets are now protected because he knows what he said was a really stupid thing to do. But like always, these creative types will throw fire to the crowd, then complain when smoke gets in their eyes. In my opinion, I don't think people should boycott Nocturne. I think this is all just a big stupid situation where everyone has just said things that they regret. And it's clear that the people who made this show deeply care about the source material. I would have a different take if the previous Netflix series was bad. But the truth is, besides its somewhat weird changes like Alucard getting double teamed, the series was still genuinely great. And I would hate to see one of the only good video game adaptations get eviscerated because of this Steve Stark guy being a dumbass. Yes, Annette is black now, but like, let's be real, she wasn't even a real character to begin with. If they made Shanoa black, however, I'd have a problem, because she's an actual character with a defined identity and all of that. Annette, however, is like Devil May Cry's Kyrie. She's just a pointless damsel in distress nothing character. So hopefully this controversy blows over and the Castlevania team doesn't say anything else moronic. But as you've seen in this video from Splinter, April, and now Annette, Hollywood is just hell-bent on changing everything to fit agendas. So what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more nonsense in the future. Like the video to help the channel out, and thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.